Hi there, this is Shauna from the Foil Fox, and I'm here on Paper Tray Ink's YouTube channel, and I'm sharing some new things just ready for the holidays. The first thing is the vase collection number 4. This is part of a series. This one's a tall vase with a wood grain finish, and it has a matching die, and one of the pieces there will actually cut a slot for your foliage pieces to go in. And then we have Sprigs and Spray Holiday. You probably remember the Sprigs and Sprays in the spring that was so popular. Well, this one is wonderful and has some nice wintry holiday kind of foliage. And it has, of course, a matching die set. The other thing I'm going to be using is weathered wood. It's a new background stamp of a wood grain finish. And then for the papers, I'm just using all white. I have a piece of 80 pound. I wanted a lighter. It's a strip of 80 pound. This is 110 pound white cardstock in an A2 card base, and then some more 110 pound card stock. I'm using half of that cardstock. I'm going to cut out all these pieces of the Sprigs and Sprays. I'm not going to use every one of them, but nearly. You've seen me do this before where I cut them out first and then stamp them. I have much better luck. I have positioned them all. You can see I'm doing this one to show you, but I've done the others previously. Just positioning it over that die cut perfectly so that I will have a perfect stamping, and I won't have part of it missing or it would be all crazy. Now I am using all Paper Tray inks here, and I'm starting out with Pine Feather, and I'm stamping that one little piece of foliage of the little pine branch, and then this one that has the berries, that has kind of a more open, broader leaf. I'm spritzing it to get those inks to move a little bit. And then if you need to stamp it twice, you can do that. But as soon as I finish stamping them, I remove them. Now I remove that one, but now I'm going to stamp the berries. I also remove the stamps. You'll see me peel them off as I go along. But I've got the berry stamp that goes with this foliage. Got that in the right position using pure poppy and just a smidge of scarlet jewel. And I'm going to stamp those wonderful berries. And so this foliage I'm going to take out. And next I'm going to go on to the pine cones. The pine cones do have a background stamp that's solid. I'm not using that. I'm using the detail layering of it. I'm using cocoa bean for this and stamping this. I am going to color that a little bit later, but you'll see that. And now I'm going on to the eucalyptus, and there's a wonderful color called Ocean Tides that's perfect for eucalyptus. It's kind of a blue green color that is quite dusty, so it's eucalyptus color, so it's perfect. I did have to stamp it a few times. And now I'm moving on to the longer needled sprigs of pine, and I'm using new leaf and ripe avocado. I do like to vary the colors when I have foliage for the different pieces because it gives a little bit more interest in your floral or foliage display. And then there is a leaf there, a single leaf, and I only need one leaf, but so I'm going to just stamp this up with new leaf and a little bit of green parakeet, and then a tiny bit of pine feather just for a little bit of shading, and I will use my finger to kind of blend it so it will go on a little smoother. And now I'm pretty much finishing off those, and they all are. I put them up all on display before I whisk them away for the moment and go on to the next step. But first, let's do the pine cone. I have taken some alcohol markers, a light brown and a dark brown, and then kind of a golden, orangey gold color. This way I can add shading and a little variance of color, and it's super fast. It's literally this fast to do it. I'm just daubing it on. I set that aside. I cut out the vase. I have going to use the same treatment, mount the negative space, put the vase in the inside, and then I am going to use the solid stamp for this. This is that little die I was telling you about that will actually cut that little slot. We'll deal with that in a few minutes, but I am going to use the solid stamp for this. And the reason why is I could have cut it out of red paper, but I wanted that little white border. So I am stamping this with Pure Poppy to get a really red background. And then I'm going to stamp it, use the detail stamp. This is the layering stamp to it. And we're going to stamp that with Scarlet Jewel, which is a darker red, and it will really make this wood grain finish really stand out. And I'm going to stamp this a couple of times just to make sure that I get a really nice stamping so that you can see that wood grain texture to it. I really like it. So see that? I really like that. I think that turned out very nicely. And I'm going to take that die and I'm going to position it right there at the top, and that's going to cut my slot. Now, I set that aside. I didn't show you that, but know that I cut that out. I'm moving on to this weathered wood, and I have Stormy Sea, which is a great ink, green gray ink, and I have my strip mounted into my stamp positioner. Now, this background stamp isn't completely 5.5 in height, and I wanted it complete 5.5. So I'm going to have to, so I stamped it, I'm going to move it down just a smidge, being really careful to keep it exactly the way it was. So using that grid on my background to help me with that. And then I'm taking a Post-it note and I'm just leaving that teeny little sliver of green showing outside the Post-it note because I don't want it to be white, otherwise I'd have a gap. And I'm stamping this so that I can make it a little bit longer. Now, if you find that it doesn't match up just perfectly, no worries. Just stamp a little bit of the ink on your work surface, use a wet brush, and just kind of redefine those lines, and it will turn out, nobody would be the wiser. It will work out just fine. So don't panic if it's not absolutely perfect. And then once this is done, I'm going to take the card base and I'm marking 2 3/4 from the fold. I'm going to make a line because I'm going a very thin, very light line of pencil, and I'm going to trim off that little piece because now I have my front that's a little bit short so that I can put this wood grain in there in the inside, but it'll actually be showing on the outside as well. So I'm going to trim this down to 5.5 by 2. So the width will be 2. And you can see I'm going to take some double stick tape, glue would work fine, and I'm going to glue that in. So now you see that my front is a little bit short, but this wood grain's going to show through. I'm going to just put this right up against that edge, so covering up that right edge of my card base. And now I forgot to stamp the veining in my leaf, so I'm using some pine feather and I'm just stamping that real quick. Now I'm going to start doing some positioning. Now this is where it might get a little bit funky. I thought I was going to use the Just Sentiment Snow, but you'll see in a minute what happens. But first, let's take this foliage, and I'm going to, play florist again and do my floral arranging. I'm putting the eucalyptus in the back, and just kind of building up. I wanted that with the berries right in the front because that's so wonderful. It's quite the star of the show there. And then I'm going to use that one leaf, and you can see magically a sentiment appeared. Ignore that, because I stamped this and it was a birthday sentiment, and decided I didn't want a birthday sentiment. I wanted a Christmas one. Now you see I have a little piece of twine where I made a bow. That's a lawn fawn twine, and you can go to foilfox.com, and we have a complete supply list, and we have everything in our shop of everything you see here. I'm using a little bit of glue, and I'm gluing down my leaf and my pine cone and my bow there. And I don't have this quite attached yet. I just have it kind of sticking there because I have some foam tape on the back of my vase, but it's just lightly set there. Now I took a piece of, I cut another one of those vases, and I trimmed it back because this little part that shows when you open the card, I wanted to face it. I think it just gives it a more finished look. I'm going to do the same thing to one of the eucalyptus on there. And you'll see what I mean. See how magically that sentiment is gone. And now you're going to see I use Just Sentiments Be Merry, which was a last year stamp, has some great Christmas stamps in it. Stamping it in pure poppy. Much happier with this because I think it would be great for a birthday card, but I just thought it screamed Christmas, so I had to do that. So I have that little facing for my vase that you just saw. Now I'm taking where I had cut out another piece in white of the eucalyptus, and I'm just gluing that down right on that edge, because that's the piece that's going to be showing when you open the card, and it's just nicer to have it all faced and looking very pristine. Now, because I've taken that foam tape and taken it on and off enough times, it's not quite as sticky, so I put a little bit of glue on there, and I'm pressing this down, and there we have it there. I'm going to just get that right in position, and now I have this wonderful holiday kind of display, and here is a close-up of it. I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. I hope you liked it. You see that I added a few of the gold little half domes there just for a little bit of accent. Again, go to foilfox.com. You'll see all of those supplies, but you can go to Paper Tray Ink as well and get these stamps. It's the Sprigs Sprays stamp and die set, the vase collection number 4, the weathered wood, and a bunch of the ink cubes we have at Foil Fox. They also have those paper tray pieces at Paper Tray Ink. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye.